Welcome to my basement, everybody. Hey. Hello, Scott Jones.
How you doing, Victor Lucas?
I am good, man.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling really good.
What's new and different? Give me some news.
Let's see.
Well, the Microsoft announcement, you're all excited about that.
Yeah, Microsoft just is kind of doing a little soft shoe backpedaling and they're responding to criticism. I don't think so. I think there's a lot of consternation.
Hey guys, don't forget about us.
I mean, come on. Like, this is the fluid thing we're talking about here.
Constant meetings, 24 hours a day. Phil Spencer has been drinking pots of coffee. It's just like, what should we do, guys?
I mean, shit, you got to look at the Wii U. You have to look at every damn thing, man. Like, this technology is confusing, and you have to express
Stop making excuses for these fucking people.
I'm
Who
not
cares?
I'm making an observation.
This technology is confusing.
It's confusing, and you have to explain it. You have to sell it to people.
That's all we care about is the consumers.
Right.
I don't care about the other
Well,
side.
I mean, so Microsoft comes out. They put down a whole bunch of rules and regulations. And
tactics.
And then all Sony has to do is say, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And we're $100
Suck
cheaper.
it, guys. Yeah.
And so, of course, they have to respond. You know, of course they have to. And this is not a big surprise. We knew that this was going to happen.
Who knew it was going to? I can't. You know what? I have less respect for Microsoft after doing that. I wish they'd stuck with their guns and said, "Fuck it, we're going to deliver an amazing machine that's going to be so good you're not even going to give a shit about these things."
That is not the current state of technology. Apple has gone out and apologized for their map software.
Don't apologize.
People go
Just
out
make
and they try something, and they sometimes they don't always succeed with this stuff. And
they focus too. We want everyone to like us. Ooh, God forbid no one likes us.
Well, they're getting their pre-order data right now, you know, and if Sony is crushing them in pre-orders, then they're going to make some changes.
They want to be liked. Don't forget about us.
They want to sell billions and billions and billions of these machines.
They just want to make money. They want to take money from if we want to be really cynical about it.
They want money, of course. They're businesses, of course. They want money, and they don't want Apple to get all the money, and they don't want Sony to get all the money. Of course, they're
Microsoft has backpedaled. That's on our minds. What else is on your mind?
Well, I've seen The Man of Steel twice, but we're going to talk about that in a separate.
Yeah, this is our 50th podcast.
I know, this is awesome.
50. I cannot believe we've done 50 of these. I remember when we used to do these. We didn't even have a basement back then.
Yeah.
We had like a fort in the woods that we used to do.
Remember the old tree house?
Yeah, we had the tree house before that. Look at a Vic's tree house.
Yeah, and you had the tree house in next door to me, and we used to have 2 tin cans and a wire, and
then I would come over to yours, and if you didn't agree with what I was saying, you would make me sit out on the tree limb.
Yes, I would.
And then you you sit out there for the rest of today's show. So this is 50 shows. I cannot believe we've done 50 of these shows. Most of them have been mediocre.
Yeah, most of them not very good. and we're fine with that.
Most of them have been excellent.
I've been playing some old classic Zelda on the 3DS. I've been playing more Metroid.
Yep,
I've been
this is all part of your job.
Yeah, you know what? It's after E3, you just kind of decompress a little bit, right? You go back to non-video game things.
I'll tell you what I'm doing.
You look at old classic games as well.
I am watching the entire run of Cheers on Netflix.
What the fuck is wrong with you? What's happened to you? Are you going through a midlife crisis right now?
I want to go where everybody knows my name.
We've seen Cheers.
Nope, I saw it when I was.
What's next on your Netflix PVR? Friends?
No.
You're gonna watch all of the Friends episodes?
What was that show at Ed Asner?
Mary Tyler Moore?
Lou Grant.
You're going to watch Lou Grant. Jesus Christ. How's Cheers? How's Cheers in retrospect?
I'm waiting for Sam and Diane to kiss. Kiss already. I know you're going to kiss.
Welcome to a podcast from 1984.
Come on, man. You like what you like.
No, come on. Honestly, like...
You're the future guy. I'm the past guy.
Honestly, though, like, you do get inundated with all of this stuff in one... Like, that Monday of E3, and I don't think we talked about this in our E3 recap thing, that Monday was ridiculous. Like there was the Monday with the press conferences, and EA and Ubi had theirs as well, but Apple had the world. Like I took a breath, and this is me talking, the guy that's excited about all of this shit.
You can't get enough stuff. I love your bucket.
I love
every time your bucket's full.
New things are coming, and there's a lot to be excited about.
You wanted
to
bring a PlayStation
but that Monday
4
was
home with you.
Fucking ridiculous.
You were on the flight on the way back. You're like, I wish I had a PlayStation 4 with me right now.
Of course, I'm still dreaming about the PlayStation 4 controller, but all of those announcements
I'm dreaming about the PlayStation 4 controller.
Packed into one
I love you, buddy.
day was too much.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
But then when you were doing all your judges' work and stuff, you're like, there really weren't that many games.
I know.
That was your ultimate takeaway.
Well, because we got them
Monday
all in
was
one
overwhelming.
Day. Yeah.
Yes. But then looking back, it seemed like you were sort of scaling back your effervescence.
There is less of the new stuff for the new generation than I would hope for. You know, there's a lot of good stuff coming out for the current gen, but we're just getting a little taste of what's to come with the titles that are going to be launching this year and early next year. I still want the tech like anybody that likes video games does too, but we're going to wait a while for the new stuff.
Tech. I don't need the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4. All I need is 2 copies of The Last of Us in case one of them breaks down. Wait, did you hear that? Someone's at the door.
I wonder who that could be.
Oh my God, Vic, you would not believe who is here.
Who is it? Who's here today?
It's the guys from Naughty Dog. It's Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley. Come on in, guys. Sit down. Take a seat. Let me clear this spot over here.
Holy shit, look at their faces. They've shaved everything off of their faces. They must be done.
Yeah, you guys were...
Get this crap out of our way. We're going to sit down here on this couch.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. You guys know about cluttered basements?
Yeah, a lot of them. Everywhere in The Last of Us. They have a lot of... They're dark and creepy.
It is kind of like one long basement that Joel and Ellie have to go through.
The worst basement.
Yeah. We always go to basements whenever we're in trouble. If it's a tornado, we go to a basement. If it's the end of days and there's some pandemic going through human nature, we go to a basement.
Hold on. We have to applaud Neil and Bruce right now because, Scott's applauding. That's sound of applause.
Thanks,
you guys
Scott.
actually made... You made a sewer in a video game fun again. How the hell do you do that?
Sewers are back. Sewer renaissance.
Listen, we both
the sewer level. We couldn't get the lava in. We tried.
Tried the lava? Did you pitch the lava?
Gotta save something for number 2.
Lava clickers. There you can take that idea. That's free. Space. Awesome.
You know what? I think they just announced the sequel. They're on Vic's podcast. Who knew it? They just let it slip.
We're going to talk sequels. We're going to talk about the game's development and its reception. Congratulations, by the way. The game came out on the 15th, I think. While we were all at E3, everybody was talking about the game. How does it feel? Lots of good reception.
You guys
lots of good
must be
scores.
Getting laid all the time.
Yeah, E3 is definitely the place to do that.
Hey, I made The Last of Us.
It's awesome. Like you crunch so hard and you're so close to it. You have no idea. You come out of that and you hope for the best and the team hopes for the best and then people connect with it and it's rad. It's a really good feeling.
It's beyond our wildest dream, right? I mean, we never thought it was going to get as well received. Neil and I both thought that this was going to be really polarized, really divisive and out there. And it's, of course there are a few people here and there, but we know like that's always going to be the case. But in general, like the majority of people seem to be responding really well and, digging the pacing, digging the characters, digging the world we've created. And that's kind of like hats off to Naughty Dog. The guys here like killed themselves to do it. So
now, right up front, I just want to get this out of the way. I was not a big fan of Uncharted 3, Drake's Fortune. In fact, I hung a pretty low score on it. I felt like it was kind of a series of loosely connected set pieces. This game, though, is really you guys firing on all cylinders. This feels so mature and so evolved, and I just feel like we really go on a ride from beginning to end. We really feel these characters feeling real feelings for each other. We feel everybody growing up and maturing. We're watching this studio. You guys have been around for a long time. We actually did a tribute to you guys on our show, Reviews on the Run, tribute to Naughty Dog and your terrific history. And this is the realization of everything you guys have been working towards. This is you guys, from my point of view, really growing up and making something so adult and mature.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks a lot. I don't know how to take that, but it's something that Neil and I sitting in a dark room in our own little basement here at the office and just kind of kicking around ideas early on 3.5 years ago. It's when we were talking about the story and the world and these characters, and we keep talking about the gameplay that it can create and the kind of tension, and we're real fans of this sort of survival genre, in comic books and novels and film. And so when we were talking about this stuff, it really kind of gelled in our brains. Like, you know, we've never played anything like this. This is really as simple as it gets. Like even with Uncharted, you know, when we're kicking around those ideas, it's like I've never played anything like that, and that was motivating that game. And now, you know, and now it's just a new thing. It's just like, okay, this is something that we felt would be special to us, and we thought it would be really. We run our own games because we make the games that we want to play, but then, you know, at least other people get to play them. Like,
well, how
did you guys like it?
Oh yeah, we did. We both gave it 10s, and I think, you know, so far it's my candidate for the best game of the year, and
mine too.
You know, and frankly, you know, coming out of E3, I think I tweeted this and you favorited it or retweeted it, Neil, but there was nothing I saw at E3 this year that impacted me as much as The Last of Us did at last year's E3. And it was cool to see there was still, you know, a lot of lineups of people wanting to play the game, even though they could go out and buy it on Friday at E3.
Well, and that was the thing as well, because we're going around, we're supposed to be seeing all this next-gen PlayStation 4 and Xbox One stuff, and all we kept thinking of, because you and I had just finished The Last of Us, you know, that was the benchmark for us at E3, was like, well, that game's cool, but it's not better than The Last of Us.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been to an E3 where I've finished a game that really is a standard bearer for the previous console generation just before we're about to see the new, like the Monday afterwards, we're going to see the next generation kind of up on stage like that. That was a surreal thing for me as a game fan and a game player. I can't imagine what it feels like for you guys, though, to see that reception sort of hitting, because critics were putting reviews out there a little bit early, and it was starting to really hit all throughout that week. I mean, how did you guys feel when you saw next-gen stuff? And I'm sure we're not the only ones to kind of say this comment, that you guys delivered a next-gen game now.
Next gen now, man. That's our motto.
These guys are clearly uncomfortable with praise.
Yes, they are.
You're gonna have to fucking get used to it. There's gonna be a lot of it today.
You know what I think is kind of special in this whole thing is, and you know, this was my call on how a game like The Last of Us gets made, but it seems like it's because of the partnership that you guys have with Sony. Like, they've really been a supporter of you guys from the very beginning, and this was, it felt to me like kind of a risk for the studio to take, because this is a crowded genre, and you guys have you know, a big, huge success with the Uncharted franchise.
Can't you just make Uncharted 4? Why do you have to make this?
Did you get that from Sony ever? Did you get them saying, look, there's already a Resident Evil, there's already lots of survival horror games, Walking Dead's all over, why do we need another thing where we're being chased?
The thing with Sony, which has always been great, is like they leave us alone. They really trust us to do what we want. And there's times where we, like, especially towards the end of production, you know, there's moments in the game that are a little hairy, that I remember like having conversations where it was like, I'm waiting for some Sony executive to come in and say, you have to cut this out.
Right.
This cannot ship. This goes too far. And it never happened. Like, I can honestly say Sony had our back like every step of the way.
It's pretty awesome. We're pretty lucky. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It is like, we're just lucky, and we have the people that Naughty Dog attracts also are so skilled as well, and the fact that Naughty Dog has given Neil and I, you know, Evan and Christoph have given us the ability to, you know, play with these ideas and build this team, and then Sony's really just had Naughty Dog's back the whole way, just saying like, we trust you guys is pretty unprecedented, I think. It doesn't escape us, you know, that we're very humbled and gracious for what we have. It's pretty awesome.
You earned that luck.
Yeah, we've talked between ourselves. It's like, you know, we don't manage the budget. We're not running the studio. We have Evan and Christoph for that. So for us, it's like, make a great game, and that's the only thing that's ever been driving us, is like, we don't have to play it safe. You know, we are given this opportunity, and it comes with a little bit of responsibility as well.
Well, how did you guys, you know, get through the hurdle of going from a one-person team or a one-company team, a one-team company to a two-team company? Because you guys, you know, have never done this before. You've only ever worked on one project as a whole group before, and now you've got two different teams in the studio.
The answer is very clumsily. I mean, there's no elegant way. No matter how many like plans you have and like graphs and charts that you're trying to like structure, and like, we're going to move this person over in January, and this, you know, like, it's the creative process of building a game in and of itself is like, there's no blueprint for fun.
Right.
You don't know when it's going to hit. You don't know how many different elements need to come together to make that concert like sound beautiful. And it's like, it's a struggle. So you're trying to build this new team at the same time as building a new franchise, new characters, and give them voice and have a world with weight. And we're trying to do things that are like out of our own comfort zone. Like we want to play this game, but it's not within, like, there's a lot of design problems that we had to answer that we haven't had to deal with before. And so on top of building another team, it was extraordinarily difficult, I would say. I think the whole team kind of really just kind of, I don't know how else to say it, but they trusted us, and they trusted, like, okay, this thing, Naughty Dog, somehow, like, we have a bunch of new people that we have at Naughty Dog, and they're like, this is how it works here? Like, I don't know if this is how it should work. And we just fly by the seat of our pants. It's a little chaotic, but the flat structure, we rely on everybody to kind of pull their own weight and like speak up when things aren't going well. And we kind of have to retrain and foster that kind of attitude amongst the new players. And it's just kind of like making a game. It's like iterating, it really is iterating. It was an interesting journey.
Yeah, it was at the end of Uncharted 2 that Evan and Christoph, two co-presidents, approached Bruce and I and said that they wanted to start another team. So at first it was just me and him, just spitballing different concepts. Do we want to go first person, third person, and what kind of story do we want to tell? Until we kind of gravitated towards this idea of building a whole game around a relationship. Like every decision we base will be the core of it. Whether it stays or gets cut is that relationship between these two characters. And then, for a while Uncharted 3 was finishing, we had a really small team who were just building prototypes and trying to come up with what we call the macro, which is the kind of the outline of the whole game. And then once Uncharted 3 wrapped up, we got like a bunch of people to kind of help us put the game together. That's when we entered production in full. And then towards the end, we're split right now into two teams. Towards the end of The Last of Us, we borrowed a bunch of people from the other team to help us finish this game because we made too big of a game. And we didn't realize it until pretty late in the process. And, that's also when we made the hard decision of pushing the date, which we've never done before.
Right.
Now, I know how you guys are. You developer types, you guys, especially at Naughty Dog, you guys you're accustomed to over-delivering, and you'll keep working on a game until they kind of pry it from your hands. Were there, and I know this is a tough question to answer, were there things that you wanted to include in the game, but you just didn't have time or had to leave on the cutting room floor? Maybe it's all there.
No, there's one I can think of. I guess I can mention it. Like the first pitch we had for the story, the outline, there was a dog. That actually.
Oh, the dog! I forgot about the dog. Yeah,
we got that pretty early because we just realized there's too much stuff here.
Yeah, it would have been Joel and Ellie and a dog.
Yeah, and one of the programmers just freaked out. Just, are you kidding me?
You're already doing a whole new AI, a whole new rendering engine.
What are you thinking? Yeah.
One of the things that surprised me about the game, though, is that it's not just Joel and Ellie, and we probably will delve into a few spoilers in this conversation from here on out. So if you haven't played the game yet, now is your time to hit the pause button and go and play the game and then come back and listen to the rest of this. But it's not just Joel and Ellie the whole way through. You actually have a lot of other characters, some that you can control and definitely a lot that you can interact with. So, I mean, that must have been tricky to kind of plan for. There's absences where you're expecting both of those characters to be there and one of them isn't for long stretches of time. How much of that stuff is kind of shaped on the fly, like you guys have just been describing, or is this something that starts off like a movie script, and then that you're going to have to cast somebody that's as good as Troy and Ashley to be this supporting character for a big chunk of time? I mean, that must have added a tremendous amount of challenge to you guys as well.
There's two. Okay, we're definitely going into spoiler territory now. So there's two things we knew early on. One of which was. The two characters would have these inverse arcs in a way. Mm-hmm. So Joel, more of his humanity would come out, whereas Ellie is kind of getting corrupted, coming of age story for her, that there'll be like this climactic point in which Joel gets incapacitated and Ellie becomes the guardian in story and in gameplay. So that's one of the first things that we knew about the structure of the story. And the other thing we knew is that we wanted the story to feel very episodic. So as you're going from location to location, you're meeting a whole new cast of characters, and those characters reflect back something about that relationship, and thereby change the dynamic of Joel and Ellie. That's And then everything else was kind of, we figured out as we went, what should those characters be? What do they represent? And that's, eventually we started with, Bill was one of the first one we cast, W. Earl Brown. And he kind of represents, this idea of, this is one way to survive is to live by yourself. And he tries to convince Joel of that you shouldn't care for somebody else because you're putting your emotional state at risk.
Kind of looked at Bill as like Joel's inner dialogue unto himself. Like if Joel were sort of in this scenario with Ellie, then he would probably, given his background and everything he's gone through, would be saying to himself, like, what am I doing with this kid?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? Like, why am I? And Bill represents that inner voice.
So that first sort of feeling that Joel has, Bill's just sort of vocalizing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like the manifestation of that.
Yeah, I guess you're giving us flavors all the way through the game of the way people would cope, different kinds of people and the way that they would cope all the way through.
Yeah, and likewise with Henry and Sam, that's a reflection, almost a mirror image of Joel and Ellie. And then you get to see what happens when you fail.
Yeah.
It's like Joel gets to see firsthand, this is what's going to happen to me if something happens to Ellie.
Like our goal with Bill's was to try to, I don't know how deep you want to go with this stuff, but we could talk. We never get to talk about this stuff. So we're like, yay.
Yeah, of course.
Spoil the hell out of this thing for everybody. Bill's is also a proving ground for Ellie. Like before, there was Tess around. And so Tess was this strong, capable woman who kind of controlled, in a way, Joel's goals.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like
she's bringing him back a little bit.
And then during Bill's, you're now alone with Ellie, but then you meet Bill and then you're hearing that inner voice. But we wanted to make sure that Ellie really started representing herself there. So we have like the snare sequence and she's helping out there. She's the one who finds the truck. So we have a lot of opportunities where we're saying like, okay, Ellie's kind of winning us, the player, / Joel over, so that when you get to Hunter City and you get in that ambush, that's the first time that you realize like this person's life is actually at jeopardy and stakes are actually high and we're alone and it's just going to be Joel and Ellie for a little bit. And we're going to build on that relationship and try to get through these dark scenarios and start to rely and trust each other throughout the Pittsburgh area.
Let's talk about that ambush for just 1 second. I like to pride myself on the fact that I don't think I can be manipulated by a video game, but that ambush in particular, and I think this is the one you're referring to, is when they're driving towards the guy who is pretending to be injured.
Yeah.
And I thought he was really injured, and Ellie says, Joel, we need to stop. This guy's hurt. And I just thought, here's another human being. Here's a survivor. I'm with Ellie on this. And Joel says, no. That guy is faking it. I'm like, are you sure, Joel? And all of a sudden, I'm questioning both characters. I'm kind of caught between them. I'm hoping that they're both right and hoping that they're both wrong. And then they get into this wreck. And then as soon as I get out of that car, or as soon as I get out of the truck, that's when the game really moves into 3 dimensions for me. That's when the world really came alive and I started to smell the smoke and the ruin and that is when I felt like, let's get out of this truck. These guys are trying to hurt us. I am ready to fuck some people up. I am so angry that they are trying to hurt me. I am going to hurt them back.
That was the demo that you guys used as well, right? That was a way that you kind of showed off the game.
That was the first area we built for the game.
Yeah.
We usually start production in the middle, and then we work kind of away from in both directions.
Right.
Because like the beginning, you don't know what your mechanics are yet, and a lot of it's going to be training. At the end, you want it all to kind of culminate into something, but again, we don't know what the mechanics are. So we work on the middle section for a really long time, and Pittsburgh was that level that we worked from the beginning all the way to the end of production. Yeah,
it's wonderful stuff. Now you guys get, some heat for making games that feel a lot like movies, and people that are so pro gameplay, they get a bit pissed off sometimes that they have these exquisite cutscenes to kind of watch. I feel like,
well, I say that. Let's
you
not
say that.
People.
Other people do too.
My feeling is I don't think games should aspire to be movies, and I don't think movies should aspire to be games. Games can do anything. This game is one of the few exceptions.
Well, I think we need both, and this clearly proves it. I think we need games that just have all kinds of crazy gameplay in lots of different ways, like Katamari Damacy, but I think we also need games with rich characters and rich stories. But when you're conceiving of these things and putting them together, do you split your team again so that you have like the writer section, and then you have the dreamer type, and then you have the actual practical, well, this is how it would be built, sort of working in parallel to kind of achieve an end goal? Or does whoever writes it, and I'm assuming it's you two guys, say, no, this is what we have to do, come hell or high water, everybody's staying in here until we get this achieved?
Yeah, so yes. It starts with Bruce and Bruce and me. Bruce is, as a game director, right? He's in charge of the gameplay and like the experience on the stick. And from my side, it's the writing and the characters.
Yep.
So there is that split, but we have to be in constant communication. So the story is working with gameplay, is working with art, and everything is working in concert. So that when we do have to split, and we work with different people, that message gets sent down, and everybody has to understand that sometimes there will be sacrifices to story to accommodate gameplay, and sometimes we're going to cut stuff from gameplay if it kind of messes with the tone of what we're trying to do with the story.
Yeah, I'll chime in just for me. I don't know, maybe we speak as Naughty Dog right here, but we've never tried to make a movie. Like we've used the term cinematic, like a cinematic experience, which I think has a different, it has a different connotation to me than movie.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And because the movie is a very passive environment. You're sitting there and letting the story and the characters and everything wash over you. In a video game, we know our medium very well. It's an interactive medium. You can't push the story forward without your participation. The player is the one who pushes the story. So even though it's a linear story, just the fact that we never, like movies, games, movies, we've never tried to do that. We really try to do is make a good story. We really try to study storytelling and character and conflict, motivating scenes and flipping scenes, and trying to just understand how good stories are told in novels and comic books and movies. And then applying that into our medium and just saying like, okay, how do we make these strong characters and engaging stories so that you want to feel like your gameplay is motivated by something. And that's what the other thing is, like trying to think about how your mechanics actually relate to the story. Is this a high moment? Is this a tense moment? Is this a downbeat moment where we have to like build up a relationship and have a conversation and explore? So we're really trying to examine where these characters are, what the story of these characters wants to do, and how that relates to the stick. So it's really, Neil and I have to see eye to eye on what we're trying to achieve as far as the experience or the moment that we're trying to get with these characters, but try to apply it to our medium, which we think we do things at Naughty Dog that we don't think that the movie industry can do.
Right.
Like there's certain feelings and emotions and a sense of, engagement, a sense of reward. There's so much more that we get out of this medium that the movies can't give you. And I think we really try hard to push that. So, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I was just at a panel with George Lucas and Steven Spielberg.
Oh, he's got to talk about this panel every day.
The panel, it was a pretty big deal for me. But it was.
I was just hanging out with George Lucas and Steve.
George and Steve were we were just hanging.
Just hanging. Well, I mean, both of them had some disparaging things to say about the ability for story in video games to connect. Lucas is pretty emphatic that story is never going to be powerful in video games, and Spielberg even said that once your thumbs are on the controller, there's a disconnect from the heart. And I couldn't help but think about the Naughty Dog games and The Last of Us, which I had just finished, and completely refute that. Do you think that this is something, and Spielberg's a gamer and Lucas is invested in major studios. Do you think this is a generational thing? Do you think this is just a somewhat of a disconnect with the full potential of what video games can realize?
Those guys are idiots.
Yeah. That's what never have
futures in this business.
No, look, for the most part, I think games struggle to tell a good story.
Yeah.
It's really hard, right? It's hard just to do it in a passive medium like film, but I think it's exponentially harder when you're trying to make it interactive. And there's all these ways things can break and take you out of the story. But I think if you can pull it out, look, we had a bunch of people come up to us at E3 say it's the best story they experience this year from any medium.
Yeah.
And again, not to toot our own horn, but it's like you play that giraffe sequence.
Yeah.
I don't think that would work as well in a movie.
Right.
And I think there's something emotional that you're there experiencing it with this other person that's very unique to our medium. And I feel like we just scratched the tip of the iceberg.
Well, what's the edge? What's the difference? Because a lot of developers want to do that, but they can't seem to you know, connect like Naughty Dog has been able to? What's the difference at Naughty Dog?
That's hard to answer, but I mean, there's
something about our culture, though, and the way we make games, which is nothing is precious. I think a lot of times you see like the separation in games. There's a really strong separation between the story and the gameplay, and then like you're not fully getting invested in either one. Whereas for us, it's like we will throw away like the ending, right? We've shot and animated a whole other ending that just didn't work as well as the one that you end up playing at the end.
Right.
And we threw all of it away.
You used to not play. I mean, it used to be in a cutscene, and so we added a whole playable sequence at the end. I think that's the thing is, it kind of Neil's touching on is we're trying to make an interactive, you know, story in a way, you know, like, and we're not talking click, choose your own adventure kind of thing, but it's like, the gameplay, we want to use our medium. We want to utilize the fact that it has interactivity here and that the player is a part of this journey. And it's maybe the fact that it's Neil and I that get to sort of wrestle it out. And we've had plenty of days where we're wrestling it out, you know, over the course of the game. And we're both very attached to our ideas. We're very attached to trying to make this project good. And you know, we butt heads in trying to figure out like, what do we want to do right here? And, you know, sometimes it's a story thing, sometimes it's a gameplay thing. We got to like somehow like meet in the middle and say, okay, what are we trying to achieve with these characters, with this story? And what's the best way to achieve that? And a lot of times I think Neil and I both see eye to eye on the fact that if you don't have to remove control, is there a way, is the first question is like, is there a way that you can do this on the stick? And if I could do that on the stick, that would be like the preferred way. And it doesn't just mean like the, you know, like I'm holding the joystick in my hands and all of a sudden the camera sweeps in and the players go out and do all their things that they're supposed to do and they start dialogue. You know, it's like, no, how am I participating in that moment? And can I be invested or engaged at that moment? And I think that's where we start from, is like, let's use this medium. And then there's some things that we have to concede, like, okay, you know, every now and then, you know, it's like, shit, I would love to be able to get that on the stick. But one, maybe for production, it's going to be too hard. Or two, it would just be more effective if the player doesn't have control right here. You know, if there's a super emotional moment, you want to see like the expression on somebody's face and have that tell more of the story than exposition or some sort of movement that you're going to do as a player, then we'll make that choice if that's what we think is going to help you get the point of what these characters are experiencing across better.
Yeah, I guess we look at everything as like it's another tool that we have. You know, a cinematic is just a tool. It doesn't like, not all the storytelling has to happen in the cinematic, but the cinematic, like Bruce was touching on, lets you cut in close to someone so you could see an expression instead of using dialogue. And then when you pull back out and you're in gameplay, you can imagine that expression again. So it lets you kind of not have such on-the-nose dialogue because you've been in that close, intimate moment that you couldn't have done in gameplay.
And we've had a lot of conversations, by the way. I mean, we've danced around this so many different times and ways of like, you know, the more interactivity you give the player, you know, the kind of the less effective story you can do. But you could make the argument that the stronger the engagement with the player and the world that they're involved in could be. You know, you could build more of a bond because they feel like they're more in control of it. So there's just hard decisions that we have to make as far as like what kind of stories, what kind of characters, what kind of game we want to make. And you know, luckily, like you guys were saying, like this medium is so open for so many different opportunities for people to push whatever their agenda is with storytelling or gameplay or quirkiness or fun styled games or like whatever they want. It's a great medium to just play in, you know?
You know, now speaking of decisions, you guys made a lot of the right ones, obviously, in putting this game together. And two of my favorite decisions you made is casting Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson as the leads in the game. Both do a terrific job. And I mean, I've met Troy Baker and I can't believe that I still can't reconcile him with Joel's appearance in the game. I don't know how that voice comes out of him, and it's so convincing and so credible and so real. But I want to talk to you about something that I call the Ellen Page conundrum. Ellie her name is very similar to Ellen. She looks a lot like Ellen Page. Ellen Page is in another Sony-produced product called Beyond Two Souls. And I came into work one day and I said to Vic, You know, I love the fact that Troy Baker is holding his own with Ellen Page in this game. I'm so lost. I don't know. I can't explain the similarities or where this came from, but if you guys could somehow just go on the record and resolve this for me, and just why these similarities? Why are you guys confusing me?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I can tell you when we design characters, you know, we draw from a lot of different people, and a lot of it is also the person we end up casting. That didn't happen initially with Ellie. So when the first trailer hit and we didn't see it. As much as people don't believe us, we didn't see it. And then the trailer hit and everybody saw Ellen Page. Yeah. And to us, and I guess to me personally, it was embarrassing because we cast a person that did such an amazing job, Ashley Johnson, that I was embarrassed for her. And at that point, we knew we had to change it. And we changed it as much as we could. And we drew even more inspiration from how she looked. And we hope that, you know, eventually people play enough of the game that they just see Ellie. And because that's all we see. We see this character named Ellie. And it was kind of unfortunate for us. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah.
All right, I understand.
It's weird timing too, I think, right? Because Ellen Page is a part of the next presentation from Sony.
6 months or a year in the other one direction or the other, we wouldn't have even thought about it.
Probably, right?
But she's so great, and Troy Baker once again. I want to friend him on Facebook.
He's amazing. And you know, he's having the career of a lifetime in 1 year right now. He's in every damn game. But let's talk about. I think the most important element, as great as the acting is, as great as the storytelling is the environment that you guys created for this unbelievable experience. The game really flourishes and becomes indelible because of the world.
Yeah, we talked about this in our review, the way that you guys include all of these details that if you're just running through the game, you're going to miss. Like, I remember seeing a deflated basketball at one point. Like, who stopped and put this deflated basketball here? It's there.
Yeah, tell us about I mean, honestly, there are long stretches of time in this game where you're not in combat. You're sort of having conversations between the characters, and you're walking.
Yeah.
And you're just looking around. You know, how much pressure did you guys put on your world builders, on your level designers?
They hate us.
Yeah,
they just hate us. And we knew that like pacing was going to be very different in this game. We wanted everything to have more weight, and we wanted to slow everything down just a little bit more, and we you know, to get that contrast, so that when you get in this rhythm that's like exploring and like checking out sort of the environments, then when some action hits, then that contrast really spikes and you really feel like the impact of that moment. That was one of the early goals we had sort of like on the theory craft side, but then in creating the environments themselves, you know, when we're talking about the different factions and getting into the backstories of like, well, how would different areas of the US have, you know, been broken down, and how would they have survived, how people would have like left areas like when the outbreak happened, and we're just kind of kicking around different ideas and trying to slot in different places for that. And then we're kind of melding that with the story and the introduction of people like Bill, and well, what town would Bill be in, and how would he set up his own traps, and how would he kind of control it, and how big does the town, you know, like, and then the environments just started taking on a life of their own, and we really wanted to delve into the backstories of how things went wrong, and we knew exploration was going to take a big part in this thing, so we needed to make sure that all those little nooks and crannies got filled out with stuff that kept you interested, so that exploration didn't feel like, oh, okay, I'm just like scanning the room for another like item to pick. It's like you're actually kind of in an environment. We want to make you feel like the juxtaposition of the familiar and the unfamiliar, like, it excites you a little bit and makes you feel something on a level that you wouldn't normally feel in a normal game, because like everything's just like, oh, it's just a coffee shop. Well, this coffee shop's overgrown or flooded, or, you know, there's not that cute girl behind the counter, or something that's going to trigger something because you're used to seeing this in a certain way, and now it's different.
Yeah, the environments are telling the story, aren't they?
This is also the second game this year, I'm talking about BioShock Infinite as well, that uses imagery and iconic stuff from the American Revolution. There's that whole thing in the beginning where you're going through something like a museum or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, each environment kind of had like 3 layers of kind of storytelling. There's like what this place was in our time.
Right.
Then how did it get destroyed? How was it dilapidated? How did nature start reclaiming it? And in a lot of places, like what has happened since then? How soon did someone live here, and what was their story? So even like there's through lines to these narratives. Like when you're in Pittsburgh, there's a through line of the revolt that happened there, and you can find the notes, and the notes kind of help tell more of the story of what you're seeing in the environment. The graffiti, we spent a lot of time like thinking what should be placed on the walls.
Yeah, well, it's all there. It's all on the screen, and you know, as a player, I'm sure we miss a lot of the details and a lot of the stuff that you guys labor over. But you know, when you soak the whole thing up as a gamer experiencing it for the first time, you see the labor. You know, so please pass on to the other dogs that everything that they did was.
You're just calling them dogs now.
That's what they call it.
Yeah, dogs.
But
they did an outstanding job for sure, and thank you so much. And I'm sure they appreciate it.
No,
so,
they really did. But the other thing where I think you guys really excelled and pushed the medium forward was in the use of ammunition and the violence in this game. And I said this to Neil, I think last year when we first met, is, you know, one of the things that I've been hoping for out of video games for a very long time. I mean, bullets just fly and everything, and there's never a cost, and there's never a sense of what damage just one bullet can do. And, you know, I think when you're fighting some of the infected, it's a little bit different than when you're fighting some of the human survivors. But you really, I don't know if there's another game that really sort of illustrates as effectively the damage that one human being can do to another human being, like this game does. You know, like there's like a moment of stillness after everybody that you kill. You feel really empty, and I mean, that must have been something that you were trying to achieve with this. I mean, this is an ambiguous, kind of soul-destroying, really dark experience.
Well, the thing we always said to ourselves is like, let's never underplay it, because that does the story a disservice.
Yeah.
You know, like violence is part of this world, is what these people have to deal with. And let's never overplay it. Let's not have it gratuitous and just be cool. And just try to find that middle ground that is just disturbing on its own. And it's like, it should feel like someone just surviving by the skin of their teeth. It should always feel like there's a desperation there.
Right.
And that's what we were going for.
So no turret sequences.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. We could easily justify that the hunters found some military gear and, like, you know, how to turret defend or something. But it's not so much about that as much as it is like trying to make humans feel like humans. You know, the human AI, we wanted to try to give it humanity. We wanted to, like, in their conversations with each other, you know, and we wanted to hopefully get across to the player that there's, I mean, it's subtext. It's all subtext and how you interpret it. But what one of our goals was, you know, there's no real good or evil. It's not as cut and dry as just like this antagonist is this big mustache twirling bad guy that's going to chase you to the ends of the earth. You know, for the MacGuffin, it was something else that we wanted to go like, okay, people are just trying to survive. Yeah. And you entered their territory and you have supplies that they want, or they're fearful that you're going to take supplies that they have. And so people, and people react in very unpredictable ways when pushed in the corner. And we kept the infected around. Actually, one time we discussed, you know, do we even need the infected, and would we have a better world without it? And we found that you needed it because we still needed to apply the pressure to the humans that exist in that world to justify them making the kinds of those decisions, right? To attack you, to defend for themselves, to fend off you from taking their supplies, from like justifying the kind of violence, so that they could say like, they need to kind of clean house and keep their own people preserved. However many people they have, that's their choice. Right. And that's their way of surviving, and the infected help get them there.
Yeah, it's funny. On previous games, you know, we would kind of wreck our brains, like how quickly can we show the guys you're fighting are bad so it feels okay to kill them. In this game, we took the opposite approach, like how can we show that these guys are human? Yeah. So you feel kind of gross killing them.
Yeah.
And that was important in trying to give gameplay options as much as possible. Like, you know, with the stealth, with the ammo that you're talking about, the exploration adds a sense of like, okay, what you can scavenge helps you, and you make those decisions of like, okay, I found a lot or I didn't find a lot, and what did I find and how did I craft, and those hard choices that you're kind of making helps you kind of get into that survivalist, you know, those survivalist shoes. at least that's our hope. I mean, I'm glad that you guys are responding so well to it, and it thanks. I'm glad that it worked. So
well,
I don't know what else to say.
This was a game too that I felt really depressed when I was playing it. Like I was really lost in the world. And it's really dark, and it's really the glimmers of hope are really faint in this game. And like, I don't mean to make this sound sensationalist or over dramatic, but like, how did you feel in the depths of crunch? When you're putting this stuff together, because you're talking about dark characters that aren't necessarily good guys or bad guys. How did you feel putting all of this stuff together? And is there a hopeful message coming out of this game in the story that you're trying to create for everybody?
Well, there's 3 background artists that they still haven't found, and I'm not telling where I hit them. So, well, the crime. I'll tell you this. At E3, my game of the show was Tearaway. And I think, and it's funny talking to Siobhan from Media Molecule, she's like, you're exactly where I was at the end of making Little Big Planet, because everything's so happy and fun and jokey, like everything's so lighthearted. Then she needed to play Dead Space. Yeah. She needed like that contrast. And like, I think that's where I'm at right now. And that's why Tearaway, on top of the fact that it's just an amazing little, like, it seems like a really fun playground, but it looks so light, and I'm like, okay, that's what I need to do right now.
It's funny because the game I played the most, I think, at E3 was Disney Infinity.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I honestly caught myself playing the game, and I'm like, Jesus, I just feel terrible right now. I'm so miserable.
Yeah, I need to eat candy.
Yeah, but I love the game, and I loved the escape of it. But God, it's dark, and you leave. If we could talk about the ending for a second, you're really. There's no win. You really.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you the original ending when we were planning the story and it was all kind of mapped out was, Joel was going to lie to Ellie. Ellie fully believes it. She just buys it, and you see them walking towards Tommy's town, Jackson, and the camera pulls back, and it's this hopeful shot. And as we got closer and closer to the day of shooting that. It just didn't feel honest anymore. Like with everything that they've been through, everything that they've gone through together, it felt like it needed something more. And that's kind of where that last conversation between Joel and Ellie was spawned from.
Right.
And we left it, and it's left open to interpretation. And the thing we like is we've heard, people emphatically interpret that ending in different ways, which we think is cool.
Guys, I really appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, this is amazing. It really truly is to have a conversation about a game that affects you like this.
I can't imagine a better place in the world to be than, to be in the Naughty Dog office after, looking at these Metacritic scores. Right. And you guys must be on cloud 9 right now.
But
no, this basement's pretty nice.
It's a good place to talk about this game.
We have some parting gifts for you.
Well, hold on. We have to ask about this.
What's that?
Do you want to go back for more? You've survived this. You've succeeded.
They've already announced the sequel earlier on the show.
You did, right, with the lava
level. Yeah.
We're trying to incorporate government conspiracy and aliens into it.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly what the games industry needs. Do you guys want to go back, or do you want to just say one and done?
Of course, they want to go back.
All right. Well, let's hear it from them.
I can tell you, we're already right now. We're like working on single player DLC. The first time we're doing single player DLC, and there's like a little side story that we think is going to add more to what you've experienced. But it's still early days on that.
Okay.
Maybe it's Bill's story.
We'll see.
That's my guess.
Okay.
So anyway, we have you guys a couple of complimentary hustlers that you can take with you. We have a brick of aged cheese for each of you, and we have movie passes to The Great Gatsby 3D.
There it is. My mom loved all of those things. She also baked some chocolate muffins for you guys as well.
Did you guys see just one quick last moment? Did you guys see Man of Steel? And if so, how did you feel?
We actually haven't seen it yet, which sucks because it has there's a Last of Us ad in front of it. But,
yeah, that's right. I saw one. Yeah, that's true.
We haven't had a chance. I heard you guys loved it.
Well, Vic loved it.
I had a really great time. Scott, not so much.
Yeah,
that's our show pretty much.
No, I have my own fun and my own other. I like my Leonard Cohen albums and
your Great Gatsby,
my New York Times and my crosswords.
His jazz albums. Guys, we can't wait for more, and we can't wait to have you back on this. Yes.
One last round of applause.
Yeah, round of applause. Everybody listening.
Thanks again, guys.
Really, seriously. Naughty Dog, take a bow.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for having us in your basement here.
Sure. Always welcome. The door's always open because the lock's broken.
You need to clean this place up.
Nope, we can't do that.
The shop vac is broken.
That would ruin the ambiance, man. We need this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neil and Bruce. You guys are amazing.
So long, guys.
Thanks, guys.
I hope you guys have a nice long vacation now. We just had two of the dudes that oversaw probably the best game of 2013 into this stink hole of a basement.
I know.
What the fuck? I know. Have we got to move? Honestly,
I think we need to upgrade our basement. It's like Animal Crossing. We need a slightly bigger basement now.
Do we have to go talk to Tom Nook?
Tom Nook might be able to lease us
seriously,
a basement.
Maybe there's a listener out there that has a nice basement that would let us go.
You know what?
Record.
This is. Thanks again to Bruce and Neil for coming in, and they're both beardless now.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask them.
Well, no, Neil's still got his beard.
Neil's still got his beard.
Yeah, they've trimmed and they look a lot more clean shaven.
Do you need a beard to go to work at Naughty Dog? That's
no, you need a beard.
The same way you need to be able to do imitations.
You know what
the
beard symbolizes? You're not going home. The beard symbolizes showers mean nothing. We have got to ship this thing.
No ladies will like you. We don't need women. We're making games.
You know what it is? It symbolizes there are patient people at home waiting for me, and I love them very much.
Symbolizes the fact that they have a dog who's very lonely at home.
They probably haven't seen it in a while because they're hanging out with their office
There was going to be a dog in The Last of Us.
I know.
Can you believe that they revealed that?
I know.
Oh my God.
That would have been even more tragic.
These guys were the best.
That is, honestly, the best game that's bummed me out so much.
All right. Well, listen, it's season. Can we call this season 2 of The Basement now? Starting with episode.
Sure,
let's go back
we'll just
to
pick
number 1.
A weird day in the middle of June to call the next season.
Every time we do 50, that's a season.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
so we hit 50?
We get 2 weeks off.
Okay.
I don't even know how we missed 2 weeks.
Did we miss 2 weeks?
Well, if we only did 50 shows.
It feels like we're always recording this. It feels like we're just in front of microphones all the time.
Do you think we should do this as a daily show?
I think so.
What do you guys think?
I think that would be amazing. But how do we do that?
We talk every day for 1 minute instead of every Friday for 20.
Okay, 1 minute podcast.
Well, we could.
Dude, if we could get Neil and Bruce on every week, we could make it happen every.
Well, listen, we've set the bar high.
We have
for season 2.
God, those guys are smart. How do you make a game that good, man? What do you have to do? How do you make something and send it out into the world?
I think that you have a studio that's been around for as long as Naughty Dog has been around. I think you have some people who've seen some things and made some games and made some mistakes and had some successes and some failures.
Right.
They have gone to war. And I think you have people who are working at the height of their creative powers. Yeah. This is the best they can do. This is the best they can do.
This is why I applaud Sony, man.
Come on.
I mean, honestly.
Why are we applauding Sony?
Because there aren't a lot of other hardware publisher type
It's like applauding Coca-Cola. We're applauding Sony.
Yeah, but
they've supported Naughty Dog.
Yeah, they foot the bill, man. They're paying for all that. I know. And they've kept those people employed, and that's what it takes. It takes a group of people building a relationship like that over many years to be able to go out and reach and stretch like that.
It is episode 50.
All right, no more fighting. Okay.
All right. Jesus, no fighting.
Can we fight next episode?
The next whole season 2 we can fight.
Okay,
Every fucking day we'll fight.
All right, well, thanks for listening to Vic's Basement, everybody.
Stitcher!
You can find us on Stitcher. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on YouTube now, I think, right? Only we just have the one still picture because
you know what? We're just getting started too. You will not believe what we have planned for season 2. You know what we have planned for season 2? Dick. We have nothing planned. We got to plan something.
Maybe we should start planning.
We're going to blow your minds, we promise.
Boom. We'll plan something.
Stitcher.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Stitcher.